All right. Good afternoon. My name is Madison Gunn, and I'm here hosting Absolute Trust Talk Live, our podcast. And now that we've changed our format, we're also on video and on Facebook Live and maybe LinkedIn Live, and we'll be on YouTube. So, wherever you are joining us from, thank you for joining us. Today, we have Lotti and Andriana Mendez of Custom Moving and Hauling. I work with Andriana in many local groups benefiting seniors, the National Aging in Place Council being the major one. So I'm excited to have them here and talk to us about what they do and what they do to help seniors. With an emphasis on the local community, husband and wife duo Art and Andriana built their business foundation on reliability and dedication to clients going through transitions. Their passion is to consistently provide a custom, personalized experience while moving, decluttering, or cleaning out for new chapters in their lives. They talk through clients' goals, listen to their challenges, and provide creative, efficient, and understanding solutions using their own in-home services. Each plan is uniquely tailored to the client's needs, and together, Art and Andriana help relieve the stress of some of life's most difficult times. They both specialize in relieving the stress of moving. They do this by offering dependable, honest, and personalized relocation and hauling services tailored to each client situation. They can sort, pack, move, and coordinate property cleanouts, installations, things of that nature. And they find that their clients are overwhelmed with downsizing, are unsure where to start packing when selling their homes, or they're paralyzed with fear sorting through sentimental items in their homes. I would imagine that's a big one for widowers. Art and Andriana's teamwork and experience shortens the to-do list effectively, on time, and with care. Having earned their senior move manager certification status, Custom Moving and Hauling continually adds training protocols and employee selection criteria that cohesively supports their mission, helping you through life's many transitions. Art has over 20 years of managing, coaching, and organizing experience while setting high expectations for workflow efficiency as the previous manager of Trader Joe's. And Andriana has a background in marketing, graphic design, and events, which make them a well-balanced team that supports clients and industry partners as well. So thank you for coming. I'm very glad to have you here. So good to see
Thanks for having
you.
us.
Thank you.
Yeah. So my first question is really, I mean, I kind of explained what you do. So I think the big thing for us is always my parents are moving into assisted living or an independent living facility or even a board and care. How can I support them? Because I'm sure most people don't want their kids to come in a whirlwind, kick them out of their house, essentially, pack it all up and sell the family home. So what is it like if your parents have a bunch of stuff or one parent is left? Obviously, they've probably been in their home for 30, 40, 50 years. How do you help them figure that out? Because they
So,
can't take it all.
yeah, like you said, they've been in their house for 30, 40, 50, maybe even longer. And so they're overwhelmed. They're like, where do I start? I have all this stuff. I want to take everything. And obviously, they come from a decent sized, respectable house, no matter what size, 1,500 up to 3,000 square foot, whatever size. But the senior living facilities, they're half or maybe even more. So in reality, you can't take everything, but they want to. So we start with, walking through the process with them, what they really want to keep, and then see if it's reality. But if they need some stuff hauled or donated or separated, we start with the process, the yes, no, maybe. Obviously, the no's are gone. So we suggest using some type of system, whether it's Post-it notes or blue painter's tape. All the yeses are yes, and effectively figure out how we can identify the no's. And then so the no's are gone, whether it's hauled, donated to the side of the house, to the side of the garage, we could help them separate everything. So then they just need to make decision on maybes. Then once they decide the maybes, then it's all yeses. Then we could suggest go to the facility where they're going to move in and lay out everything, whether it's with a measuring tape or by eyeball. We suggest measuring tape. Okay, this couch can fit here. This china hutch can fit here. This dining room table, oh, it's too big. I need a 4-seater instead of a 10-seater. And, this closet's so big, I can only bring so many clothes. And so once they separate or once they identify what can go in there, then they go back to the yeses, and then it's a hard yes. And then you just dwindle down to maybe, and then make decisions based on that.
Got to make sure all the yeses can actually go.
Yeah, the 100% yeses are going to go, and the maybes sometimes are yeses, and then obviously sometimes are no based on the space or obviously size of the unit. Because some are very small, some are studios, and some are 2 bedrooms, depending on what facility in the area that they go to.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm sure people are hard to part with things that they think they need, like, oh, I'm used to having 3 sets of bedding, and it's like, well, you don't have to do your laundry anymore, or
Yeah, we moved a lady to from Concord to Pittsburgh, huge house, single lady, older lady. She did downsize just a hair, but she had maybe 12 sets of bedding sheets, and so you're like, well, okay, I guess she would, just in case. So hey, she has a room, feel free to fill up the space.
Yeah. And I like that Art uses like the analogy of the wish list versus the reality list. They may have an idea of, okay, I really hope that this could fit, but then once you really look at the square footage of what they're working with, and then it's like kind of a reality check. And I think that's something that also, as an adult child of older parents moving into his senior living places, is kind of pick and choose your battle. There may be things that they're really insistent on taking with them. And then when they get there, they're like, oh, they kind of, once they see it for their own eyes, rather than having to really fight it from the beginning from while they were packing during the house, seeing it in the space sometimes helps them be like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. One guy had a 2-bedroom. So he had a little bit of space, and he wanted to bring his older 1980 solid wood bed with the headboard and Cal King bed. And it took up an entire room, and you could not fit a dresser in there at all. But that's his choice, and he really wanted his bed. So you have to make sacrifices or not. So depending on your space.
Yeah. Do you find that when you have to be realistic with your clients, that it's you and the kids or the family members, or is it like they listen to you better? Or
most of the time, I'm like, hey, I'm here to help, give you suggestions, but I'm not the decision maker. But then I find some, not many, but some adult children, they're like, tell them that they can't bring it. You have to tell them.
They want you to be the bad guy.
I'm like, hey, if you want me to be the bad guy, I can. But most of the time, the adult children can help make that decision with the parents. But
yeah, and then of course, once you get the things inside the apartment, you want to make sure that it's not over-cluttered, right? Because we want them to stay there without worrying about tripping over things, and then kind of reassessing, okay, how can we safely live in this apartment?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't suggest it, but we don't mind. Hey, let's see if this really fits. Let's over-clutter, and then once it gets there, let's assess it and then pull stuff back. Because you don't want to, and I've never seen this, but you don't want to go there with not enough stuff. Usually that's never the case. But, for example, we moved in somebody and they insisted on X. But once we got there, we showed them that, okay, well, where are you going to sit? There's 8 chairs, but there's only enough for 2. So we had to pull a few things back based on, their visual experience, based on the layout.
I could see not enough stuff given if all of their stuff is sized for a large house. Like your side-by-side refrigerator may not work in an apartment, so you might end up being short things, but I mean, you get rid of them and buy new, but sometimes
usually that's not
tough.
the case where they're short. They have plenty to put.
For sure. So what do you do when it comes to those sentimental items? I know, like, most parents have boxes for each child with the finger paintings and all the way up, right? The cast of their feet, everything they've ever made for them, those macaroni necklaces, and then pictures, and of course, all the other stuff that they might have sentimental value, whether that be their precious moments collection or their plates or the art. What do you suggest for that for your clients?
Yeah, I mean, I think with a lot of sentimental items, right, this is the hardest part of the whole moving process, is going through things and having those honest conversations with the kids about, I've stored all of these boxes from when you were in elementary school, like you're saying, those macaroni necklaces, and thinking that maybe their children would want them or their kids' kids would want them. But having those conversations up front and asking them, hey, do you want these things? Or do you want my china cabinet or my hutch that maybe the parents were saving for the child? And they're like, oh, that's not really my style, mom. Or, but just having that conversation ahead of time. And so that those expectations are managed a little bit. And then also with, memorializing things that obviously if you've got boxes and boxes and boxes of photos, having the kids help go through them, pull the pictures that they want to keep. Also, when you're going through pictures, that's a big one, is tossing any duplicates. I know back in the day, everybody used to have duplicates photos, right? And unless you've got multiple kids or multiple people that want them, reducing the space that things take up. But yeah, giving those away to the people that want them, and making scrapbooks out of pictures of some of those favorite pictures, and then just really keeping those legacy items, right? The things that continue to tell the story of the family, the identity of that individual, things that they would want to pass on. And then also keeping things, you want to make sure you don't get rid of everything sentimental, right? You want to keep things that still tell your story and still tell where you came from and what you want to continue for the generation to come, for grandkids or things like that.
An example, we had a client that we moved, and we were there at numerous stages before her move, and she had wall-to-wall pictures, top to bottom, all the way down the hallway from the door to the bathroom on both sides of the wall. So, we suggested her, okay, well, the first step would be to go through, like Andriana said, make a scrapbook, go through all the pictures, take them out of the frames of what you don't want to hang in your new place, and make a scrapbook. She could have made quite a few scrapbooks, but the new facility, new place she was moving into did not warrant the amount of wall space that she had existing. So, that was one step, the first step that I suggested that she take in that process.
Yeah, and even like bigger items, you can, photograph things. Even, because if you're talking about rocking chairs and things like that maybe are not going to fit in the new place, and sometimes photographing those items and having a scrapbook of those, even if you want to write a story, record mom or dad talking about their stories with that item. I think it's a really important and valuable part of the process of going through sentimental things, is telling the story, because a lot of people feel like when they're leaving things behind, or when they're downsizing or donating things, that that memory is going to be lost, and it's not. It doesn't have to be that way. If they can write it down or record it and share that, it makes it a little bit more of a healing process.
Yeah, and I have another client that not everybody does it. It's a very minimal amount, but she brought all of her nice, expensive paintings that her and her husband went on trips around the world, all over her house. So she took all those paintings and brought them to storage, and are going to go through them when the time is right. As well as she had figurines from all the places that they went to, also like Hawaii, or all these tropical places. So I suggest anything that the customer wants. So, but that's not a common one. But we can bring stuff to storage so they could just make a decision later, because at that time everything's overwhelming. They're moving into a senior place facility, but they've been in their house for 50 years. So that is an option.
It'll be interesting to see how that changes in the next 20, 30 years, when our generation, you're cleaning out their shot glass collections from all the places and hotels they've ever stayed at, instead of
and their IKEA furniture that goes to the garbage.
Yeah, they're like, I really want that MDF bookshelf to go with me. It has sentimental value. I put it together when I was 18.
Yeah,
I also think
hours.
those and that Allen wrench that came with it, the those digital picture frames, I feel like they're wildly underused and underappreciated. I feel like that would be great. And I've seen ones where you can actually, if they're hooked up to the Wi-Fi, the family can drop pictures into a file. And then, so even if you're 3,000 miles away, you can put new pictures in there of the grandkids for grandma and grandpa to see in that picture frame.
And they pop up live. Yeah, that's kind of one that's pretty cool. Yeah, digitizing photos, you're right, is I think underused, and there's so many great services out there for that, because at some point, all those photos have to get stored digitally.
Yeah.
And,
now we don't even print photos. It's special for us to print photos.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like,
have
I have a paper
pictures.
print.
Yeah. That's I like that. Okay, let's see. What does moving day look like? So presumably you've gone through all the stages, what you're going to do, what you're bringing, what you're not bringing, how they're going to lay out their new place. What does moving day look like, and how can adult children help make mom and dad or dad more comfortable?
Yeah, I mean, I think hopefully by that point, you've already gone through the whole planning process. You already know where things are going, what's going. And as the adult children, I think it's really just your job at that point to distract mom or dad, maybe take them on a walk, go to their favorite breakfast or lunch place. So that way people like us can come in and just get the moving part. I think the hardest part is to stand around and watch all of your things being moved. So if you can take your parents somewhere so they're not just watching that happen, it's the best part to start. And then
most of the time, the family members bring them out to lunch, breakfast, lunch, or whatever, until everything's set up. Sometimes we go and set up stuff almost 100%. So the furniture is in place and all the boxes are stacked nice and neat. But so they come in feeling like it's their home, so to speak. But sometimes people are sitting there, watching us bringing stuff in. It doesn't happen often, but that's one small case. But yeah, most of the time, the adult children or sibling, take them out to lunch during this whole process. So when they go in, they could, we're not there, and then they bring them in and start unpacking either that day or the next day after.
Well, that's nice that they don't have to be there. Can that happen when I move? I don't want to be there either.
Yeah.
And that's one of the conversations we might have with the adult children ahead of time in the beginning planning phases of like, what are the key things that are, if dad has a favorite chair that he sits in, making sure that, that's in a placement that he would feel comfortable. And so that first day, they're ideally going to be having at least dinner there. Hopefully the move will happen in the morning, and then they'll have their meals for the rest of the day there. And so that they'll be able to walk in and see those items that make them feel at home. Like I said, maybe it's the chair, the coffee table, certain photos, just to have that feeling, those few items of home, so it doesn't feel so cold, and so the process feels a little warmer.
Yeah, almost 100% of the time they're in the early afternoon. Mm-hmm. So when they come back from lunch, they can settle in, understand what's going on, have dinner at the facility, and then obviously sleep in their new place.
Mm-hmm.
Do you offer unpacking services, or do you find that people don't want that? Like,
we do. It doesn't happen often. It happens with other moves, but as for senior moves, well, I'm sorry, let me back up. We sometimes, I don't know, a large portion of the time we unpack their wardrobe boxes. But as for dishes or paintings or other areas of the room, we typically don't get asked, but we can.
Just depends on how much support I think they have at that end.
Yeah, that's true. I guess if their kids are there, like the kids can make the bed and do all that stuff. A lot of times when we're getting asked those questions, for me, it's always like there is no one's willing to help. So it's always like that's where my brain goes to first. A lot of times, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, once you've moved said senior, what do you do with all the stuff back at the house? So in terms of, the furniture that obviously probably 90% of the furniture is not moving, and then whatever else they chose not to take, what do you do that? Do you sell that for people? How does that, or do the kids take care of it?
So most of the time the adult children do not take care of it, although they can. We make suggestions sometimes in certain areas. I think most areas, they have a free pickup once a year. So what we would do is we would plan that out where we would do the donations or hauling the day prior. So we'd move stuff to the curb so that could be picked up for free instead of paying us. But as for charities, if there's certain charity that will accept certain things like all the paintings or this furniture or clothes, if they have it set in stone that and confirm with the facility, we could drop it off for them. The last resort you want to do is haul it. So whatever else they can do, or we can help them, educate them on what to do to have it done for free or cheaper than hauling, then we suggest it. But sometimes kids are like, get rid of it. I'm out of town. I'm leaving tomorrow, or I'm leaving next week. And when I'm done donating, then get rid of it. So,
Yeah. Because sometimes they're, the adult children don't live in the area. And so, they may fly in for one weekend and need to move everything and then deal with everything else. So, and I mean, I think there's always the expectation too of the items that are left that they're worth a lot of money, or that,
Sure.
maybe mom or dad paid a lot of money for them in 1970 and they've gotten, that's 50 years ago now. I was just telling Art that's crazy to think about that.
I know.
But, that those items can be donated, of course, but maybe depending on their style, their value is not going to be, I think, what they think they are. And there's certain websites you can check on that also. And
we have a client that we went in there a couple of weeks ago in Castro Valley, and she has the time. So sometimes adult children, they have the time to research this, to take stuff down to certain donations. Okay, we have this collectible of this collection, whether it's China or silver or whatever, and they have time to research and go down to these donation places and see if they'll take them. And she's doing, I always tell them sometimes they do more work than us trying to find a facility to donate it. But hey, whatever they want is okay with us.
Yeah. And I mean, if they have the time and they want to do a good old fashioned garage sale too, and do that prior to figuring out the donation place, that's always, there's people out there who still love a good garage sale, or, figuring out how to make a little bit of money with the items that are left. So it just depends on what they have. Right? It just varies so differently. And so the things that are popular now might not be what was popular to your parents.
Sure. I mean, macrame is back, so who knew? I think a lot of people think that just because something's old, that makes it an antique and it's worth money, and that's not necessarily the case, I mean, I know when my grandparents passed and we had to clean their house out, a lot of that stuff they'd had for 60 years, but they reupholstered it over the time. Like that's what they did to refresh their furniture over the years, was to reupholster things. And it was like, because that had happened, it's obviously not original, so nobody wants it. But nowadays we're like, oh, it's solid wood. I'll take it. I'll put it in my house, whatever.
Yeah. And everything mid-century modern is popular right now. And like I said, those big old hutches and china cabinets that were beloved to our grandparents, it's just.
Yeah. I mean, I understand there's family silver, but you got to polish that every time, twice. What,
Where do you even buy that at?
I don't know. You inherit it. That's what you do. Because I don't even know. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of the house is empty, mom or dad is in wherever, assisted living, independent living. Now they want to get rid of the house. Do you help with that as well to an extent?
So after all the items are dispersed for the appropriate locations, we have quite a bit of resources to help them, depending if they're going to rent it. Do they need a property manager? Do they need to paint it, clean the carpets, or warrant replacing the carpets or flooring? Or are they going to sell it? Do they want a quick sale? So, I mean, based on their needs, we have a list of very high majority of list of people that can help them with their needs, whatever it is. Quick sale, if they want to spend money to upgrade it to get the most out of the house or whatnot.
Yeah, and I think that's what's great about, being part of what you mentioned earlier, the National Aging in Place Council, just having a network of folks who are all helping seniors and their family go through this process. And just that network is really helpful, and at least us being able to pass on that knowledge and point people in the right direction. Because sometimes these things happen really fast and it's just really overwhelming and you don't know who to ask, especially sometimes if the adult children don't live in the area, they have no idea. So having that network is really powerful.
Yeah, especially if you think you're asking the wrong person. I mean, just still ask, because you never know what that person's going to know. I mean, I get what I would consider to be weird one-off questions all the time in an estate planning meeting that I can answer because I've learned from colleagues in the Aging in Place Council, or just from even other clients. So, you never know unless you ask. One of the things that I really like, and you can maybe elaborate on this, Andriana, is when I had talked to you previously and we talked about moving into, if you're downsizing and moving in, a lot of times when you're moving in, you're making sure that things that are happening at your house are, like, if it's being painted or Comcast is coming out, or sorry to anyone that's not in California, your cable company is coming out to hook up cable or internet, or the phone company or whatever the utility is, or even just, sometimes people have handymen come in and do certain things. I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, you mentioned that you help coordinate that stuff during a move to the place they're moving into. Is that correct? when
Into
when
like
we're
the assisted
coordinating
living.
moving. Yeah, assisted living or like an independent senior living type
Yeah,
thing.
so to make sure that the timing is that we don't want to be moving things in as, cable guys coming in or phone guys coming in. Or,
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. It's just knowing. I mean, not that you're calling and scheduling all that stuff, but when it's all supposed to happen, so
yeah,
that
and then
you can
asking
help your client.
asking those questions about when that's happening. So like you said, it's all about the coordination and the planning, and that's kind of what sets us apart.
Yeah, I think so. I like that. Because then your client doesn't have to think about it. If they just tell you, okay, this is what I need and this is what I'm scheduling. And you're like, okay, well, you have something else that day, or whatever, or you don't make sure it happens before the move, kind of keep them on track with that. So
yeah,
I'm sure that can be a very disorganized experience for seniors. I mean, it is for me. So I would imagine it would be for someone who's the senior. Okay. And then one of the last points we have or questions is, and maybe you can explain to me what this means, but why is hiring a certified senior move manager important? So explain to me what a certified senior move manager is.
So being a certified senior move manager is an additional training program that we go through the National Association of Senior Move Managers. So like I said, it's a wide range of training experiences that we have to go through, protocols that we have to follow. They verify the first year of our senior jobs, and it's just like mostly the biggest walk or take away from it is just following ethics and making sure that you're doing the best thing for the client 100% of the time, because sometimes their kids may have an idea of the way the move should be going, but it's really about serving the senior in a way that's most appropriate to them, and just always keeping that in mind through everything from the planning process through the contracts to the move-in day until the wrap-up at the end at the home. And just those certified protocols. And then we're documenting all of our senior moves, where they're at, what types of services we're providing, whether it just be planning or it's packing or it's moving or it's all of the above or hauling. We've done hundreds of senior moves at this time. I think last year we did over 100, and we've probably done close to a couple hundred already this year. And just having that experience and knowing what that process looks like allows us to approach each situation with that knowledge, and then also with that understanding, ability, and compassion to what they're going through, knowing that it's not easy, and it's just one of those parts of life that you probably wish doesn't happen, but it just does. And if we can make that easier, we do. And so we focus on just making it easier and making it a little less difficult for everyone involved.
Yeah, it's usually relief when the adult children call and then ask how we can help or whatnot. And then we tell them a little bit about us and we have experience in that space and this and that. And it's just one more thing that's a huge relief to them. Oh my God, I'm glad we found you guys. Thank you. Now they can focus on the next step, so they don't have to worry too much about the moving process or the things to come.
Yeah, I feel like for anyone in the senior industry, and this goes for all of our colleagues at Aging in Place Council, and even for a lot from my office, is that remembering that the senior is the client.
Mm-hmm.
That ethics where those adult children kind of try and step in and do things on behalf of their parents. I'm sure it's very well-meaning, but everybody has to remember that the client is, unless there's like a power of attorney involved, other things like that, the exceptions. But for the most part, we have to be respectful of the fact that the senior is the client and they're the one it's affecting.
Yeah.
So that's great. Yeah. I love that you guys provide this service, and I want to know a little bit off topic what it's like working together. Working with your spouse. Yes.
Well, I always tell people, thankfully, we don't typically work side by side, even though we're sitting side by side right now. We do very different parts of the business, and I think it's a nice balance because Art's very He's really good at multitasking, which is why he's great at being on site and planning. And he just has a brain that wraps around those things, whereas my side is a little more creative. I like collaboration from a business standpoint. I love marketing, and I think we do pretty good together for the most part.
Yeah, there's nothing that each other does the same. Like I don't do anything, nor do I know how to do anything that she does. Besides, I attempt to network. I mean, I'm okay, but she's definitely the brains of that operation. Whether it's networking, getting involved with the different organizations, marketing, website,
technology.
dropping off. Yeah, exactly.
He's not.
Yeah,
the
no,
guy.
I'm like, okay, I'm the boots on the ground, the worker. I go to the bids because I have the little more experience dealing with the actual moves and stuff like that, so I could help the clients facilitate and understand what steps to take, like a counselor. I always call myself I'm a counselor. I'm a moving counselor.
Yeah.
So we have two different jobs, 100% where we don't, nothing that overlaps. So there's no conflict there.
You're not stepping on each other's toes.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. But I mean, we're both on the same page in that we, at the end of the day, we're a family business, and we want that, the experience that someone has with working with us. We both know that we want them to walk away knowing that it was a great experience, and that, like I said, we were able to reduce some of their stress, give them a clear path of what should happen, and delegate things in a reliable way, and being accessible and us being reliable is just, we're all on the same page on that. And even our guys. And so that's... we continue to communicate, daily, weekly about what each other's going through. So we can kind of understand the reality of, like, I'm not going to ask her, hey, could you do 10 posts on social media this week? Because it's not reality. So, understanding the process that she takes to get where she does a creative flyer or do an event, an educational seminar, like what it takes, to not put too much on her plate. As well as I tell her the experience of the day-to-day with us, whether it's a big move, small move, senior move, packing, so she can understand like what we really do, like time frame wise, with the amount of crew that we have. Yeah,
I think that's great. Realistic expectations. I like it.
So we haven't killed each other so far.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great. I love a good story where couples work well together and create business together on the same page. I like that. I met my husband. We worked together. We didn't own the business, so that was probably a good thing. But sometimes the couple that works together stays together. So I like it. I like it. Well, I appreciate you both for coming. I'm very excited I always hand out your information when clients come asking. And Andriana is a great help at the National Aging in Place Council. She does all of our graphics when she can to promote things and always networking. And she's always speaking. Andriana's speaking engagements are off the chart, always at every real estate alliance you can think of in the Tri-County area, and all the other groups. So I appreciate you both very much for being on the show, and hopefully we'll be able to have you back soon.
Thank you, Madison.
Thank you.
This was great. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us today for another episode of Absolute Trust Talk Live. If you enjoyed listening in, then don't forget to subscribe. You can find us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you may listen by searching Absolute Trust Talk. While you're there, we would also love for you to leave us a review. And then why not share your favorite episodes with family, friends, or colleagues too? You can find all of our shows and corresponding show notes by visiting absolutetrustcouncil.com. You'll also find a variety of other free resources, including our ebooks, videos, blogs, presentations, and more. If you need help with your estate planning or administration, we also offer a free discovery call to help get the process started. You can find more information on booking your session by visiting absolutetrustcouncil.com/scheduling. Don't forget to keep an eye out for our next live episode in 2 weeks. If you join us for the broadcast, you can submit questions during the show. But if not, don't worry. You can always get in touch with us by sending a quick message to info@absolutetrustcouncil.com. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you soon.